All right, apparently my mic wasn't working. Is it working now? Test, test. Does my only fan hear me? Hello, hello. All right, we've got confirmation that the mic is now working. So the first minute or minute and a half or so, there was silence. So let's just quickly run through the intro. Once again, this is the best of 9 between the pink Protoss, Timbo Slice, and the green Zerg, Yellow Jello. Yellow Jello went for a pool first. He got his pylon blocked, hatch blocked by a pylon, I mean. Took a third over there. Lings are out on the map. Timbo going for a fast expand, low ground, pylon, and wall. All right, we are all caught up. So, yeah, nothing too crazy about these openings. I guess the only thing that's a little weird is the pool first from Yellow Jello. I don't like that decision because Timbo is not a cheeser by any means, so you can probably get away with being pretty greedy. So Yellow Jello kind of setting himself a little far behind. Also getting this location. Maybe if he went for hatch first, he could have put that expansion over here. Would have been much better in terms of the eco standpoint. Look at how far these drones have to travel. Just a slight inconvenience, and it's gonna add up. Maybe. We shall see. Timbo does have his base established. Trying to get that saturated up. He is going for both a Robo facility as well as a Twilight Council. Only units out on the map for the Protoss is going to be that initial Zealot and Stalker for now. Gonna finish up that wall, leave a slight hole there for his units to plug up. And that might be something we gotta keep an eye out for in this series. The Timbo walls, sometimes he messes them up, leaves a gap, but it looks like this wall should be pretty sturdy. Yellow Jello gonna be getting a Roach Warren as well as a second gas in the main base, third gas in the expansion as well. So that's quite a lot of gases. He doesn't really have that many workers, so I think 3 gases might be a little much for his current economic state. But we'll see what he decides to go. If he goes for Ravagers, those are pretty gas heavy. This Overlord gonna get taken out with the help of the vision provided by this Observer. That does tip Yellow Jello off, however, that Observers are on the field. Robotics facility is the tech of choice. So if he can put those together, he should be pretty aware that A, there is an observer, and B, immortals could be out shortly. Not being produced, however, but those bad boys could be very scary against roaches, which is Yellow Jello's game plan right now. He is going for a bit of an attack. This is, what is that? 10 roaches and a single ling. And it looks like this observer just gonna completely miss it. Very clever little pathing here from Yellow Jello. He went around this way, so I don't know if that was intentional to dodge that observer, but here are the roaches. 34 army supply to the 14 of Timbo, and this is pretty dicey. There is no shield battery. Immortal did get started, but it's still quite a ways away, and 10 roaches. Timbo desperately trying to warp in 5 additional zealots, but they don't have upgrades, they don't have charge. That pylon's gonna get taken out, unpowers the forge, unpowers one of the gateways, but is this gonna be enough? Sorry, I misspoke. The zealots do have a charge. That was a pretty early charge, and that's gonna help greatly. Is that gonna be enough? More roaches coming in. It looks like it should be enough with the additional reinforcements from Timbo, and he does get the cleanup pretty cleanly there, I would say. Doesn't lose any probes, only lost that single pylon, lost a few zealots, of course, but fairly decent trade, I would say, for the Protoss player. As we see, the resources lost gonna be favoring him just a bit. Units lost, 12 roaches went down and all that. 2 overlords, 2 zerglings, and on the side of the Protoss, 7 zealots, 2 pylons. So pretty good trade. Yellow Jello doesn't look like he's done, but this is not a good move. Roaches, they don't have speed yet, so they are gonna take a lot of damage on the retreat. These zealots with their charge ability will be able to just zoom in and catch those trailing roaches. And now the reinforcements of Yellow Jello coming in to save the day, however, and now Timbo's in a bit of trouble. Maybe not. Yellow Jello decides to pull back. I think he could have taken that, but that one Big Daddy Immortal is kind of scary. Timbo continuing the pressure over here. He doesn't have a warp prism or anything for reinforcements, so he's got a lot of money in the bank. He has to warp in all the way back at home. And it does look like he is going to abandon this attack. Does force out a lot of units from Yellow Jello, but that's totally fine. Yellow Jello with the overall supply lead. 11 workers up, make that 10 workers up, as well as a handful of army supply. So Yellow Jello looking pretty decent. It looked a little dicey for a split second there, but the macro is good enough. Now Yellow Jello going for another attack, and oh, this time he's got some Ravagers in the mix. The Biles don't do a whole lot, but the Archons doing that splash damage. I don't think Yellow Jello really wants to stick around. Probably wants to wait for more reinforcements. He's going to take out the rocks. Losing a few lings there for free. I don't know if you usually want to take out your opponent's rocks, but he was working on those. Gonna be working on his own rocks. No, just kidding. Gonna leave that in the red. Don't really know about this decision making here. Overseer on the field does spot that observer, and the micro, non-existent for Timbo Slice, doesn't pull that away, does lose that observer, and with that loses the vision that he had. Yellow Jello gonna finish off those rocks, clearing up this ramp here just for extra mobility. Creep spread, decent, could be better. Wouldn't mind a little bit more over here because this is a vulnerable base. But he's going to be opting to spread it outwards this way instead. Timbo getting his third base up. No fourth yet from Yellow Jello, only just now starting. So that's a bit late. A Ling squeezing through. Gonna get one probe kill, and that's not bad at all. But yeah, 4th base, very late for Yellow Jello. You typically want to see that a few minutes ago. But Timbo not really capitalizing. His worker count is still pretty low. And oh, some units getting trapped over here from Yellow Jello. Bit of that poor control, but the Banelings crashing into the Zealots. And that's pretty big, but storms are on the field. The first one was decent. And Yellow Jello is going to have to evacuate. Timbo Slice equalizing the supply there with that defense. Pretty solid there. And Yellow Jello once again has to run home, regroup, think about what he wants to do next, and it's gonna be lurkers. Where is that lurker den? Right there, out in the open. If Timbo sends any type of scout in, he could see that real easy. Infestation pit going down as well, because you do want that hive, you do want those double upgrades for the lurkers. They are not that good without those upgrades. And speaking of upgrades, we've got +1 melee, +2 ranged for the Zerg player, +2 melee and carapace on the way as well. And that is the correct thing to do. You don't really need carapace. You don't need to prioritize it, I should say. But it's still decent to have. Yellow Jello going for another attack. Still no speed on those Banelings. Wouldn't mind if you wait those 10 extra seconds. And Scouting Zealot gonna spot the location of this army. So that Zealot gave its life to know where this Zerg army is. Timbo's gonna relocate back to the front of his natural. And maybe Yellow Jello looks like he just wants to abandon this attack, having been scouted, and he is teching up. He's trying to get to hive, he's trying to get to lurkers. So I like this decision. You don't want to force the issue right now. You don't want to lose half your army and be vulnerable to a counterattack. So pull back, get your tech up, morph in those lurkers, get that hive finished, start up those lurker upgrades. Good decision there from Yellow Jello. Not a sentence you hear all too often. But Timbo now taking this opportunity to go for a bit of an attack himself. 158 supplies, so I don't know what compelled him to go for this timing attack. Will it work out? I don't know. Lurkers are on the field, but they are not at their full power. They don't have those crucial upgrades. So Timbo just gonna bypass them, walk right past. Is this gonna work out? Storm's going down, but the lurkers do catch up, and they are dealing so much damage, but the storms are pretty decent. Protoss army kind of split. The Zealots doing their own thing right now, and I think the Protoss gonna lose everything here. Is it gonna work out? He does evacuate with some of his units. Not sure what this Warp Prism's doing, but there's an Archon in here. You don't want to lose that! Okay, maybe that was a little too dramatic. But Yellow Jello now counter-attacking with his 163 army supply. 2,000 minerals in the bank for Timbo, but nothing being produced. What are you doing, Timbo? You gotta make stuff, or maybe you don't. I think that was kind of weird. I thought that was gonna go way worse for him, but no vision for the Protoss player. So these lurkers gonna go uncontested right now, and that's kind of all there is right now. This is awkward, but oh, the observer does show up just in time. Big damage being dished out by those lurkers, but they do get taken out. And overall, another hold for Timbo Slice. That looked super dicey. He was down like 50 supply at the start of the attack. But Storm's pretty good, and once again, things kind of quieting down. Those lurker upgrades being researched now. We already have the adaptive talons. Usually you want to get the range first. The burrow and movement speed not as important as the extra range. So for any Zerg players out there, remember GLSD. Go Lurkers, SD. Those are the hotkeys for the upgrades from the Lurker Den. Timbo gonna be clearing up some of these overlords. Kind of embarrassing to be losing those to Archons, especially since they have speed. And Greater Spire being morphed right now. Interesting. I didn't even realize we had a Spire. No air units on the field just yet. Looks like Timbo was thinking of a little bit of drop, but oh no, look at this awkward pathing. And Timbo on the side of the awkward army control this time around. Yellow Jello gonna pounce on some of those units. And Timbo gonna regroup, but is it gonna be enough? Storm's gonna go down with the Lurker Spines. So damaging. Luckily, these High Templars do escape in the red HP. And Yellow Jello evacuating. You never see Lurkers do this poorly. Timbo gonna be chasing, and he's just gonna continue the pressure. He sees the Lurkers. He doesn't give a care in the world. Gonna go for this rich gas base, takes that out, and Yellow Jello scrambling his defenses. He's got to be patient right now. You do not want to fight with this paltry army, but he does anyways, and that's gonna get cleaned up if Timbo decides to take that fight. Archons are pretty good against Lings. You could take that fight, Timbo. Maybe respecting his opponent a little too much. Now we've got Mutalisks on the field. I don't know about that decision. That is not the unit you really want to go against Archons and Storms. Timbo gonna continue this pressure. And how is this gonna work out for them? Looks like, well, Timbo not really engaging the Mutas. That Storm was juicy. And now, I don't understand, actually. Archons should absolutely just shred these Mutalisks, but Timbo kind of just avoiding the fight. Very strange there. And now going for this third base, which was technically the second base. Mutas coming in, Storm's gonna pepper them up. And yeah, Mutas, I do not agree with this decision. They are just not good against Archons. Archons do so much splash damage on top of the damage against light units. Where is the... Oh, it doesn't matter. GG gets called. Timbo is going to take game number 1. Welcome back, folks, to this best of 9 series between the pink Protoss Timbo Slice, and this time spawning in the red, it's his Zerg opponent, Yellow Jello. So game number 2 gonna be contested on Site Delta. Pretty nice green lush map, I think. I feel like this is a pretty fair map for this matchup, although I don't really know. But game number 1 going the way of the Protoss player, which is a little surprising because this is his off race. Let me remind y'all that both these guys are Zerg players. Timbo has been enjoying Protoss shenanigans lately, so going to test his skills in this best of 9 series against Yellow Jello, who is, let's admit it, probably the weakest player in the Bubbly Frog SC2 League. But still, a bit surprising that he loses to Timbo's off race. Of course, that was only game number 1. Let's see what else these guys have in store for us for the rest of the series. This is, once again, a pool first, which I really do not understand. We never see Timbo go for a cannon rush or proxy gateways or anything like that. Why do you need to go for the safety pool first? Forces your hatchery to be a little bit later, and everything's just a little bit awkward. I guess the queen is technically a little bit earlier, but yeah, the gas is a bit late, so speed is a bit late. It's like off time. It's just very awkward. I don't understand this opening. Timbo going for his expansion as well, and that's going to be just a little bit behind his opponents. Yellow Jello also getting that third now, and once again, these Overlord positioning, there's no reason for this guy to be here anymore. Maybe in the very early game just to see if there's any proxy pylons, but by this point, yeah, this is pointless over here. Yellow Jello, of course, loves to break down rocks, so he's gonna send his first 2 Zerglings to munch away on these rocks. I mean, I guess that technically does open a path for him, but it's a double-edged blade because that allows his opponent to have this attack path as well. Don't know if that's a good call. Timbo patrolling his zealots over here. That's not really an optimal wall, to be honest. If Yellow Jello were the type to flood in like 20 Zerglings, these zealots wouldn't be able to hold the door. Charge being researched, robotics facility producing that observer. Looks like he's going to rally that to spot the Overlord over here. Smart play there from Timbo once again. An awkward drone rally from Yellow Jello. Why are drones coming from this third base over to the second base, and then they went from the main base over to the third base? I don't understand what is happening. What? Why? This isn't even fully saturated yet, and workers are going to... What? Okay, anyways. Baneling nest being produced here from Yellow Jello, layer on the way as well. A double Evo chamber. We did see that Overlord get taken out there. Observer gonna relocate and take a look at the bases of the Zerg player. These Lings still working away at these rocks. Couple more minutes, buddies. Timbo gonna be getting an Immortal. A lot of energy on these Nexi. Should be spending those. Chrono boosting out some more probes, saturating your mineral lines, or maybe chrono boosting out your Big Daddy Immortal. Timbo going for a bit of an attack now. He does have the army lead, 25-14. Yellow Jello is aware of this, however, he does evacuate the third mostly. Drops down a few panicked spine crawlers, but they are a little bit too late. Ling's popping out, but is it going to be enough? They are kind of derping around right now, and uh-oh, this is a little bit dicey. Where is the stuff for Yellow Jello? Looks like he just got caught with his pants down, and GG gets called. Timbo taking swift game number 2. Welcome back, guys. We are looking at the main base of the man, currently up 2-0 in this best of 9 series. This is the pink Protoss Timbo Slice. And his opponent in the top red, top right, spawning in the red. It is his Zerg opponent, Yellow Jello. Oh, quick game number 2 from Protoss player with an aggressive little gateway attack that was just zealots and a couple stalkers. Yellow Jello just got caught with his pants down, going for the spawning pool first once again. I don't know why he's doing this. If he went for the hatch instead, he would have that down already. This probe wouldn't be here in time to block that. Things would just be so much more comfortable. So Yellow Jello really making it more difficult for himself than it needs to be. He does get that hatchery down at his natural this time. Last 2 games he was forced to take it on the 3rd. So thankfully he has that going for him, which is nice. Game number 3 going to be contested on Radhuset Station. This is a pretty big map, lots of bases. This pocket 3rd is essentially free, you just gotta mine those out. And then this 4th is pretty easy to take as well. So generally a bit Zerg favored. Let's see if that comes into play at all. Gas starting to be mined here. Queen on the way, and Timbo gonna be going for his natural as well. So once again, pretty normal Protoss opening. I would expect another robotics facility and Twilight Council. Shortly from the Protoss player, he doesn't tend to deviate that much. He could potentially go for a Stargate and Oracles, but I don't think he really has the gas for that right now, just on one gas. And 2 Zerglings gonna nibble on this pylon and no reaction, so he's just gonna lose both of them, it looks like. No, it does escape with 1, okay, just barely, but yeah, I mean, what was the point of that? You should at least like run in to look for the tech. All he did was take away some of the shields, which is gonna recharge, so weird little move there. Third going down from Yellow Jello, he's taking this outside base, which makes sense because you don't really want to commit drones to mine that out just yet. So take that as a 4th, that's fine. Yellow Jello working on the rocks once again. And there's no need to do this. I feel like the Zergling is better off like hanging out over here or like running around looking for proxies. As a Zerg player, you're not like walling up over here anyways. You're probably not building anything in this location, so this is not necessary. But I suppose it's something for that little Zergling to do. Roachwarren as well as a Baneling nest on the way, layer being produced as well, 2nd and 3rd gas on the way for Yellow Jello. And Timbo did go for that robotics facility. He did get that observer. Gonna spot that overlord, and the stalkers are gonna take that out. So I wonder if Yellow Jello is gonna adapt at any point in these games. Seems like Timbo Slice has been pretty on top of that overlord flaying. So I wonder if he will ever really reposition that to, I don't know, somewhere else in future games. We'll see. Looks like a scouting overlord over here, gonna be coming in just to see what kind of tech Timbo's going for, but as I said in one of the previous games, he should have the information that there's an observer out there. So it is Robo. Observer gonna be scouting around now, sees the barely saturated 3rd base. So when you see this, you should kind of be thinking like, okay, where's the rest of the workers? And that does imply that your opponent might be spending a little more money on army than you would like them to. And that does seem to be the case here. Lots of lings, handful of roaches, a couple banelings being morphed in. Of course, Timbo didn't spot that directly, but can he put those 2 pieces together? Looks like he is warping in some extra units. And maybe thinking of an attack? I don't know why he's hanging out on the ramp like this. One singular Zergling gonna come out to take a look. It does get obliterated, but Yellow Jello gonna be aware of this army if he was paying attention. And it is just the same that we've been seeing the previous games. Yellow Jello now morphing in a couple Ravagers, still committing a lot to the army. So worker count not as great as it could be, but still he is in the lead, 51 to 38. And 12 more Zerglings hatching, a couple more Roaches. Is Yellow Jello gonna go for an attack here? I don't know. Let's see. His base is not fully saturated, as we can see. 14 out of 16, 12 out of 16. So he is investing quite a lot into this army and still committing to that. Not sure why. Is he just scared, or what is the game plan here for Yellow Jello? No plans for a fourth in sight, and now he does start droning once again, a little bit. And then he goes back to roaches. This is very strange. I do not understand this decision making here from Yellow Jello, but it's kind of what we expect from him. Double Robo on the side of the Protoss player. He is getting up that third base, and now finally Yellow Jello going for a big attack. This observer gonna spot this, so it does give Timbo a few precious seconds to gather up his forces and prepare for this. It looks like he wants to move out to meet this, and it does kind of work out for him. Yellow Jello's army was a bit split, but now Timbo is out in the open for no reason, gonna be taking so much damage. He does get completely surrounded, and it looks like this is gonna be it for game number 3. I do not see how Timbo can possibly recover from this. 76th army supply to 3. Not sure why Yellow Jello doesn't pull the trigger here, and he does. GG gets called. Yellow Jello does put himself on the board. Welcome back, folks. This is game number 4 between the pink Protoss player spawning in the bottom right of Oceanborn LE. It is Timbo Slice going up against his green Zerg opponent this time. In the top left, it is Yellow Jello. These colors and his name is really confusing. Timbo going for that low ground pylon with a scout once again. Let's see if Yellow Jello gonna be going for a fool first once again. It looks like yes. I don't understand this opening. So Timbo potentially gonna block that expansion. He does poke in with the probe. So he does spot that fool timing, and oh, is he gonna be able to block both gases? Yes, he does. And that's actually pretty huge. That's gonna delay speed for so long, and that's so annoying. That's totally worth it, in my opinion. Very annoying play from Timbo Slice, but Yellow Jello only has himself to blame. Once you see the first assimilator being put down, you take the other one immediately, and you do not let that probe go all the way around and drop down that second gas. So Yellow Jello only has himself to blame there, and Ling's gonna start working away on those. But these Lings could be doing a whole lot more. They could be across the map right now. Could be harassing this pylon. They could be scouting, taking out some workers. Instead, they have to waste their time back at home. Timbo not going for the expansion just yet. Opts to drop down a Stargate first. So this is something I said was a possibility, and it is going to be a reality in game number 4. Patrolling Zealot once again, not an optimal wall. I must reiterate, this is not good. Fuelings can just bypass it. However, these lings don't have speed, so it might not be that bad. And like I said, that's just what happens. You just run right in, you get a full scout. He's going to spot the Stargate. Well, not if you just hang out in the corner of the base there. Okay, so Cello, he went in for the scout and then he just hangs out over here, doesn't even check the base of the Protoss player, so he does not know that the Stargate's there, as we see. So this single Oracle might get some damage done. Typically, people go for 2 Oracles. Let's see if the 1 is going to be enough. And behind that, just more gateways and a Twilight Council. Let's keep an eye on this Oracle. It's going to get 3, 4, 5. Oh, you gotta control your... Oh my god. You don't want to be taking so much damage. Oh my god. And what are you doing? Now where are you gonna escape to? And there's that poor army control from Timbo Slice. He does get 6 workers, but that's not really enough to make that worth it. I don't know why Timbo's air unit control is so poor. And he often loses his Mutalisks, he'll often lose his Oracles, as we just witnessed. But yeah, that's not how you want to be doing that. And I am befuddled, folks. But okay. More Zealots being warped in. Charge about 30 seconds or so away from finishing. Overlord gonna float on in now. A bit late because the Stargate tech was already revealed. But he does spot the rest of the buildings. Does see that finishing up robotics facility. And the Overlord is gonna go down. And back on the Zerg side of things, once again, a bunch of roaches are moving out. They do not have speed yet. So this is a bit of an awkward timing, and I'm not sure where these guys are going. Why? Are they just like scouting for a hidden base or something? I don't know. Well, he didn't even go in there, so that was a little weird. Some lings streaming across as well, and Timbo Slice. He doesn't have a whole lot, just a handful of Zealots. Is that gonna be enough? I don't think so, but let's see how this plays out for him. The lings are mostly dispatched, a couple more Zealots being warped in, but Roach is pretty decent against Zealots. 2 Stalkers in the back. Those are a little bit better against Roaches, and it looks like Timbo should just barely have enough right now. I don't know why you're taking this fight out in the open. Pull back to your shield battery maybe would be a better call. Robotics facility not being utilized. An Immortal would be absolutely huge right now. And just Zealots being warped in, I think Stalkers would be a much better call here. And Yellow Jello, he is not done. He's now morphing in some Ravagers. Timbo with a handful of minerals. Does kind of want to spend those. Lots of gas in the bank. Doesn't really know what to spend that on. Maybe a sentry or two would be decent with a Guardian Shield and perhaps a Force Field. And you don't want to be out in the open like that. Back up to the safety of your shield battery, but I don't think it's going to be enough. There's just way too much Zerg here. Immortal shows up, but it's just too little too late. Shield battery overcharge comes out as well, but there is no Protoss army left. And this Zerg swarm just going to be too much for game number 4. It looks like Yellow Jello will be able to tie up the series 2 games apiece. Timbo desperately trying to warp in stuff back at home, but he does not have an answer to this Zerg swarm. Maybe a Void Ray a few minutes ago would have been nice, but this game is over, folks. We are just waiting for the GG. And there it goes, Yellow Jello taking game number 4. Welcome back, folks. We are all tied up 2 apiece between the pink Protoss player, Timbo Slice, and his red Zerg opponent, Yellow Jello. Just switching up his colors once again. The games where he was red didn't really work out for him, so kind of interesting choice that he would go for it again. The previous game, 2 games did go well for him, I think. Was that the... Yeah, he won... Started off 2-0 Timbo and then 2 from Yellow. I don't know what I'm saying. Okay. Gateway first on the low ground. Once again, Probe coming in for a scout. And yet again, spawning pool first. We will have to ask him about this in the winner's interview, if that happens. Spoiler alert, it will not. 2 gases, once again, to block the speed from Yellow Jello. Also blocking the natural, so Timbo just being super annoying. And Yellow Jello, yeah, once again, you see that probe, you've got to be thinking like, all right, he's gonna want to block my stuff. He's gonna want to be a nuisance. And now, once again, speed gonna be super delayed. These lings they're gonna have to work on these instead of going across the map. So once again, just super annoying. Timbo Slice back at home. Did go for a Cybernetics Core and a Zealot before the expansion. Lings, as I mentioned, are now working away at these assimilators. Queen pops out and joins the fight as well. The natural, which is located at the third and shall henceforth be referred to as the third, does finish up. Overlord in an awkward position once again, not needed here. Neither is this guy. Kind of want these around the map in these little safety spots, so maybe one over here would be nice. Maybe somewhere over here in like this little abyss. You kind of just want to spread these out in these safe spaces. I think that is a little perch as well. And this time, Yellow Jello does move his Overlord in a safer spot. So I was saying, was he going to adapt at all? And it looks like yes, he has. It took him 5 games, but he is going to adapt to that Observer snipe over there. Typically, you would have that Overlord perhaps here, but maybe Yellow Jello realizing that Timbo always sends that Observer there to spot it. However, there is an argument to be made that it's still good to have that here to gain the early game vision of your opponent's wall. Anyways, Observer does come out. Not going to be looking for the Overlord. Instead, just going to be making its way across the map for scouting. Zerglings working on the rocks again. Yellow Jello's favorite activity. Third base. Starting to mine. Drone going from the third to make the natural. And once again, a lot of roaches for this stage of the game. Yellow Jello looks like he wants to go for an attack. His 2 forces here. Very disjointed. I don't understand. Make that 3 forces because we have a handful of lings here as well. Slow lings, mind you. Ling speed not even halfway done yet. But here comes the attack from Yellow Jello. A bit awkward. Just 4 lings and 5 roaches. The reinforcing roaches a bit party to the party. We do have a single Immortal, and that should be more than enough to clean this up. Immortal do so much damage against armored units such as the roaches. So all but 1 roach gonna go down, and it looks like this guy is gonna lose its life on the retreat as well. Upgrades. Charge is already done. That explains it. And so, yeah, that attack, major fail from Yellow Jello. Maybe if his units were like all together at once, he would have had a better chance. But, you know, like 3 roaches coming from over here. The lings were slow and they kind of engaged first. It was just very awkward. And Yellow Jello looks like he still wants to attack. He has committed so much to the army. Once again, the worker count even, which is not what you want in this matchup. But Timbo, what were your units doing over there? His Immortal gets surrounded, and that is no bueno. But oh, it escapes with its life. There's no shield battery back here, and there's only just 1 pylon, so a little bit awkward there. And once again, these roaches being caught on the retreat, gonna lose a handful of them. Maybe honestly just fight, because you're losing so much on this retreat. No speed on these bad boys, and yeah, just losing so much on the retreat there. The Bile takes down a roach, and this counterattack from Timbo is gonna get the job done. GG gets called. That's a swift game number 5 from Timbo Slice. Welcome back to game number 6 of this best of 9 series. We are looking at the main base of the Pink Protoss, who is currently up 3 games to 2. It is Timbo Slice. And his opponent in the top left, losing to the counterattack in the previous game. It is the red Zerg player once again, Yellow Jello. So Timbo with the probe scout. Let's see if Yellow Jello gonna go for a pool first again. Is he gonna let his gases be taken? Is he gonna let his natural be blocked? We shall see. It is indeed a pool first. In comes the probe. Spots the pool, and it looks like he's not gonna go for the gases this time. He's just gonna try to block the natural, which he does do, and looks like he's gonna be a little bit too slow to block the third, but already a bit of a nuisance there. And I wouldn't mind seeing the cancel. Nicely done there from Timbo Slice. Truly becoming a Protoss player. Yellow Jello happy to take his gas this game. And back at home, Timbo, he's getting his quick Nexus. Second pylon in the main base. Probably gonna see a couple more gateways here, a robotics facility, a Twilight Council. Yellow Jello moving his overlord to this little pervert pillar. So he does have vision of the front of Timbo's wall. Chrono Boost going down on the warp gate. Not usually something you see unless Protoss is going for like an aggressive warp gate attack. I don't think Timbo really goes for that, but I think he kind of did in the second game, but that was a bit of an anomaly. Link speed being researched, drones being rallied all the way over to the third base. Lings out on the map, just scouting around. It looks like there are these rocks over here that could be worked on if Yellow Jello is feeling bold. Some rocks out on the map as well. And Stalker ventured out to look for that Overlord? I'm not really sure. Observer being made, and it is rallied to that Overlord. So looks like that is once again going to be the plan here. And like I said, a couple more gateways, Robo, Twilight Council. Pretty typical Timbo stuff. Warp Gate research just finishing. I would expect a charge to be started up relatively quickly. Observer does spot this Overlord. And the Stalker is going to be taking that out. At the same time, another Overlord floating on into the main base for a full scout. You gotta be mindful of the supply block, however. Single Overlord in the production tab. But that's not gonna be enough once this Overlord goes down. Baneling Nest does finish up. Layer on the way as well. Double Evil Chamber being morphed. And gases 3 and 4 at the natural base. Another interesting choice here from Yellow Jello. That's a lot of gas. You don't really have that many workers. Handful of lings being morphed in, or spawned in, or produced. And no further tech from Yellow Jello just yet. No Roach Warren. I guess that was the only thing missing from hatchery attack, but Lair does finish now. Baneling's speed on the way, +1 melee on the way. So only one of the Evo chambers being used. Not sure why he got two then. He does have enough gas for other stuff. Does start up the Carapace, which is not really the upgrade you want or prefer. But if you're not going for ranged units, I guess that's fine. But he is going for ranged units. It is a Hydralisk Den behind this. Lingbane Hydra, perhaps, going to be the composition of choice, at least for now, until he can get up to Lurkers in the future. A bunch of Overseers being morphed in. I don't know why you need that many Overseers. That is a bit of a waste of gas, especially because you didn't spot a Dark Shrine or anything. Maybe one defensive Overseer would be enough, but 3, a little bit of overkill in my opinion. Creep spread also pretty poor right now. Like there's nothing out here. Creep spread only just starting over here at the 3rd, so that could be a bit better for the Zerg player. Lots of stuff being researched right now. Hydralisk speed, and I don't know why Yellow Jello goes for his upgrades in this order. The range is 99% of the time gonna be the more important upgrade. So yeah, don't know why you go for those in that order. We saw that before in his Lurker upgrades as well. Range just more important most of the time. Another observer coming in for the scout. Back at home, Timbo just kind of powering up, getting an upgrade, weapon upgrade, morphing in a couple Archons. He does have the Templar Archives, but no Storm being researched. So it's just going to be Zealots, Stalkers, few Stalkers, single Immortal, and 2 Archons for now. It's not a super scary army, especially against Banelings with speed. And here comes Yellow Jello going for a big attack. Where is the scouting from Timbo? Non-existent. So here comes the Zerg army. Banelings come crashing into these Zealots. A lot of Zealots going down instantly. And Timbo once again just caught out in the open, not in the safety of his shield battery. And these Blings and Hydras should be enough to just clean this up. Overcharge on battery way too late. And now just a handful of Hydra is going to be able to clean this up. A few more Zealots being warped in, but the reinforcing Zerg swarm should be more than enough to take this all out. Zealots even derping around a little bit. 118 to 38 supply. It's a G. Yellow Jello tying things up 3-3. Welcome back, folks. We are all tied up 3-3 in this best of 9 series between the pink Protoss. Spawning in the top left, it is Timbo Slice. And his opponent in the bottom right, in the red, the Zerg player, Yellow Jello. Low ground pylon once again from Timbo Slice. And not spending his energy, you typically want to chrono boost your very first probes, because start with 12, you get a couple more probes a little bit earlier. That's a big percentage increase. So delaying that just a little bit suboptimal, let's say. Speaking of suboptimal, Yellow Jello going for the pool first once again. And Timbo gonna be blocking this base, it looks like. And he's gonna be chasing that drone. It looks like he should be able to block it from the third location. So Yellow Jello gonna be sending another drone to take the natural. And that actually kind of works out for him. You do prefer the natural over the third, obviously. So good little play there. Bit of a, I don't know if you would call that a juke, but maybe. Yellow Jello, I think he's been listening in because he is moving his Overlord. Does typically keep that like in front of his base, and that is not optimal once again. But this third Overlord, I'm not sure. Yeah, it looks like he's just going to be chilling out here. So maybe he hasn't learned. First Overlord does spot this wall. Going to be moving to this little. What is this? Like a warp field or something? This is kind of a Protoss themed map, so maybe it does have something to do with warping in. Ling's just scouting around the map. They do check this gold base just in case his opponent's doing anything cheeky. It's another corner base at the top right, so don't think either player would really go for any of that, but it is an option and could give you a lead to have a secret base. Twilight Council on the way for the Protoss player once again. Second gas is very late. Protoss stuff typically very expensive, so to still be on one gas, a little bit out of the ordinary, I would say. Third base being put down now for Yellow Jello. Ling speed about 70% done. No additional tech yet for the Zerg player. We'll see if he goes for roaches or banelings or both. Charge being researched once again. I do like the early charge from Timbo Slice. I think charge is just such a good upgrade. It allows your zealots to be useful. Slow zealots are kind of the worst unit in the game. We do have 5 zealots here from Timbo Slice. Once again, this wall a little awkward. I mean, you have all these buildings here, so why not just put one of the gateways over here to kind of close up this wall a little bit better? We'll see if that comes into effect at all. Probably not, but a bunch of Lings could just run in. This is, however, quite a lot of zealots. Looks like we've got conflicting opinion in the chat saying Hydras are the worst unit as opposed to slow zealots. There's an argument to be made. Yes, sure. But zealots, slow zealots, I should say, they can't really close the distance. And whoa, GG gets called. Timbo Slice just wins game number 7 with a 5-minute attack. And Yellow Jello just caught with his pants down. Welcome back, folks. We are on match point in this best of 9 series. It is, once again, a ZVP, and the colors are changed up again. This is so confusing. It is the green Zerg, yellow Jello, going up against the red Protoss, Timbo Slice, with mostly Zealot army that just completely walked over his opponent. 5 minutes into game number, what was that, 7 last game? So here we are, game number 8. Timbo sitting on match point, going for the low ground pylon once again. Gateway, probe scout, yellow Jello going for the pool first. Probe coming on in. Oh, a little bit. I don't know if that was a scout or was he trying to dodge the probe, but it looks like probe is gonna be blocking that location. Oh, but he gets stuck, so he is not gonna be able to block the third. Silly probe got stuck on the drone, but I mean, that's not bad. Oh, maybe if you canceled that would have been a bit better. It does occupy the time of 2 drones over there, and this opening already a bit suboptimal. Cybernetic score here from Timbo. Quick Nexus once again. Second pylon gonna be going down somewhere in the main base, probably. Third pylon, I should say, because this is technically the second, which is gonna be going down. And here is that pylon. Gas here from Yellow Jello starts up that speed for his Zerglings. Natural base and going down. This Overlord once again in a useless position. This one in a better spot, would see any push-outs, but is going to be a little bit vulnerable. Robotics Facility, Gateway, Twilight Council. And mostly the same every single game from Timbo, minus that one Stargate game where he lost the Oracle real quick and then lost the game shortly after. Once again, a strange wall. I don't know why he does it like this. Against a more aggressive player, they would just capitalize and flood in a bunch of Zerglings. Not typically what we see from Yellow Jello, but still something to consider in this matchup. Natural base, about 90% of the way done now. We do have a Baneling nest being thrown down. No additional Zerglings in the production tab, so it doesn't smell like it's going to be something terribly aggressive. As I say that, 4 Zerglings being made. Only 4, still not really enough to imply an aggressive, perhaps Baneling bust kind of strategy. Now we do have 4 Zealots at the front of the wall for Timbo Slice. Observer is going to be floating on across the map. Overlord does come on in for a scout, sees mostly what they've seen for the whole series. Box Facility, Twilight Council. And the Overlord does go down. Supply blocks Yellow Jello, and that's something you gotta be mindful of when you fly in that sacrificial Overlord. You know 99% of the time you are gonna lose it, so you gotta be mindful of the supply block. Get those extra Overlords a little bit earlier so you're not in this awkward position. The Overlord does pop just now, but he's still at 50 out of 50. No additional Overlords being made, so this is such a huge setback for Yellow Jello. What are you waiting for now? Oh, finally starting 2 Overlords, but those are still like 30 seconds away from finishing, so this is a massive supply block for Yellow Jello. 1-1 upgrades being researched. Layer is finishing up, so he is at least spending his money on something, getting some more Overlords now as well. A few Banelings being morphed in. Where is the Baneling speed? It doesn't look like he ever got that, I don't believe, and that's a very useful upgrade, an important upgrade to have. It does finally start that up a bit late. This Observer does spot everything here. Not sure what these Queens are doing. They do have energy for creep tumors, so why are they just hanging out over here? A little bit strange. Hydralisk then going down in the main base of the Zerg player. So once again, Lingbane Hydra perhaps. And now Timbo Slice moving on out with once again a handful of Zealots, a few Stalkers, and a single Immortal. But that Overlord does spot that, gives Yellow Jello the heads up. So he is going to be able to produce some more Zerglings. And now that the Hydralisk is dead, he does get Muscular Augments first, which is, as I was saying before, not the best order to be getting these in. The extra speed for the Hydras, not too useful unless you're going for like, I don't know, a super aggressive timing attack, which is not out of the question, I suppose, but most of the time you prefer to have that range first. Back on the Protoss side of things, we've got more gateways, Templar archives coming on down, Blink being researched. So Timbo, a lot of Zealots once again. That's kind of been his preference in this series. Observer continuing to be active, just spotting the units of Yellow Jello. Does get a little too close to the Overseer, and the Hydras do take it out. Only 4 Hydras on the map so far, a few more being made. We have 1 already done. +2 melee being researched, as well as +1 ranged. Infestation pit coming down as well. Are we going to see a lurker den anytime soon? This is very awkward. The saturation at his bases are not fully saturated. In fact, this gas not even fully saturated. So Yellow Jello committing a lot to this attack here. So many lings, that's a little crazy. And he is gonna just swarm all over this third base. Gonna have to cancel that. And I don't know about venturing out here, Timbo Slice. He does come out to greet the Zerg army, and I don't think that was a good decision. You want to fall back to the safety of your battery, but instead he's going to lose everything. Not the best use of Banelings there, crashing into the Immortal, but it might be enough. 61 army supply for the Protoss to 103 of Yellow Jello, and battery overcharge going down, but there's just not much left for the Protoss player. This Archon a little bit out of position. It does back up into the safety of the battery. Tanks so many of the Baneling hits, and the battery continuing to charge him up, but it does go down to the Zealots. The Hydras. Zealots being warped in. And all that's left is a handful of Hydras, but what's left for Timbo? Not a whole lot either. Trying to warp in some more Zealots, but that's all he has. 700 minerals in the bank, but I think he just didn't have enough charges, or what was going on there. Now Zerglings streaming in, and that's going to be enough for the GG. Yellow Jello ties up 4 apiece, and we go into the ace match. Here we are, folks, the final game in this best of 9 series, barring anything completely wild like a draw. It is all tied up 4 to 4 between the green Zerg player Yellow Jello and his red Protoss opponent Timbo Slice. So a trend I have been noticing in Timbo's losses is that he hangs his army outside of his wall. He gets just swarmed over by the Zerg. He needs to back up to the safety of his shield batteries, to his wall, to his cannon. And then he stands a chance. Game number 9. Looks like no different openings from either players. A pool first once again from Yellow Jello. Probe gonna go for the block. Drops down the pylon, and can he block the third base? It looks like, ooh, I don't know, maybe that little attack there slowed him down a little too much, and yes, just barely does not get the block on that third base. A little bit of a misplay there. I think if he just sent the probe straight to this third location, he would have been able to block it. Pool finishes up, Queen on the way, Gas on the way, and Timbo should be dropping down his Nexus as well. There he goes. Once again, most likely going to see a pylon somewhere over here. There he goes. We're going to see another gateway, a Robo somewhere up here, a Twilight Council somewhere down here. And this time around, we do have a timely second gas. I wonder if we might get a Stargate this time. Cybernetics Core is completed, Warp Gate being researched, and what is going to be the tech of choice here from Timbo Slice? Show us the money. It is another gateway, not that exciting. But what's going to come down over here? Robotics facility. Okay, so yeah, like I said, just kind of the same thing. We did have that one game where he deviated with the Stargate, but that was it. Once again, this wall gives me a little bit of anxiety. This gap is too big. Any Zerg player on the ladder would see this, start licking his lips, hold down the Z key, just flood in Zerglings. But maybe it's a bait. We do see that it is not in this particular instance, but it's a bit scary. Third base getting saturated now for Yellow Jello. He is rallying drones over there. Oh, does fix that wisely so, because this main base is not even fully saturated, so that's good. Ling speed just finishing up. Ling's working on the rocks again instead of scouting or something. Hello? Observer gonna come on in, gives vision to the Stalker, which will be able to take out that Overlord. Charge being researched. And Timbo not spending his money. You gotta be spending those warp-ins, because every production cycle you miss is a unit that you don't have. You can't just like, oh crap, I forgot to make units and spam 100 Zerglings like you can with Zerg. Observer gonna fly on in, spots the natural base, gonna go on into the main base, sees the layer morphing, sees the Baneling nest. Overlord comes in for a scout. I think it's spotted that Twilight Council. Don't think it spotted these extra gateways, but does go down. Yellow Jello once again supply blocked because of that. No Overlords in the production tab, and this is a bit awkward, but that was a massive well of drones being produced. That's going to put Yellow Jello up 53 to 40 workers now. Single Overlord in production. Going to be popping out shortly. Going to need a few more than that. As we see Yellow Jello loading a lot of money right now. Double Evo Chamber, Hydralisk Den going down. Both attack upgrades this time around. And 20 Zerglings in the production tab. Storm being researched from Timbo Slice. That is pretty early. Storm's going to be absolutely pivotal in the defense here because Zerglings, Hydras, and to an extent Banelings are quite weak against Storms. We'll see how good those land for the Protoss player. Lots of Zealots. And I feel like Timbo needs to tone it down a little bit on the Zealots. His opponent has been favoring Banelings in most of these matchups. So Zealots just kind of get blasted by those Banelings. And with the charge, they just kind of run right in and melt. But if they can avoid the Banelings, Zealot's obviously a very good unit. +1 attack for the Protoss. About 70% done. Muscular augments. First on the research list again. And I don't know if... Is that deliberate? Because Yellow Jello does look like he wants to go for an attack. So maybe the Hydra speed just allows his units to hit a little bit quicker. I'm not too sure about the rationale behind it. But in he comes. Lots of Zerglings going for the third base once again. Timbo Slice, he is out in the open. He is getting some batteries and a cannon out here, so a little bit of a better setup compared to the previous games where he lost in this situation. Let's see, can he pull off the defense? Where are the Storms? Where are the Storms? There's the first one, not the best. Second one is a little bit better, but does hit a lot of his Zealots as well. But that was a pretty good cleanup. Lots of these Zealots did take a lot of damage to the Storms, but he does ward off that attack at the cost of the third base. I don't know if that was a cancel or... No, he lost that, as we see here. So no cancel there. No, it's a bit unfortunate over there. But now Timbo going for a counterattack, it looks like. Yellow Jello working on the rocks again. This Observer gonna spot everything, and there are no Zerglings. Okay, Zerglings just now spawning, but that was a little dicey for a second there, and you need some Banelings as well, but Yellow Jello, oh no, the Storm is massive, and there are no Banelings. Second Storm really good as well, and I don't think Yellow Jello is going to be able to hold this. GG gets called in. Timbo Slice taking the series 5-4. Wow.